You're all set, Chairperson.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Recording Secretary. So we're going to go ahead and start off with today's meeting. Good afternoon, everyone. I'll go ahead and call to order the June 18th special meeting, Youth Commission special meeting. Will the Recording Secretary please call roll?
Thank you, Chairperson. Commissioner Verdin?
Here.
Commissioner Diaz?
Here.
Commissioner Echegoyen?
Here.
Commissioner Huizar?
Here.
Commissioner Ortega?
Here.
Commissioner Ordonez?
Here.
Commissioner Manguilat?
Here.
Thank you. You have a quorum, Chairperson Diaz.
Perfect. Thank you. Awesome. So if I can please have everyone stand wherever you are to please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Perfect. Thank you, everyone. So to go ahead and start with today's meeting, I believe we have a presentation on the Parks Master Plan. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to city staff to provide that presentation for us.
Thank you, Chairperson Diaz. Today, we have a presentation from MIG, a representative of MIG by Cindy Mendoza will be doing a presentation on the Parks Master Plan. Cindy?
Thank you so much. I appreciate that introduction. And while I share my screen, I will just let you know it is my honor to be here to work with the city to help update their Parks Master Plan. And one thing I want you to know is that when I was a kid, my favorite place of all places was the swimming pool. So my very first job when I was 17 was with my local parks department. And, you know, I thought it was a summer job, but I worked with kids who had never been swimming before. And the thing that really stuck with me is realizing I had the power and could leverage the resources by being an employee in Parks and Rec to take kids swimming. To give them a chance to be involved in recreation activities that they wouldn't otherwise have that opportunity. And while it was a summer job and I went off to college and I got a master's degree, I went straight back to Parks and Rec and have now worked in that field for more than 30 years because I still understand and know how important it is for kids to have opportunities to be involved in recreation and community services. And so it's really my honor to be able to talk to you all today. Clearly, you recognize the importance of Parks and Recreation as well and have dedicated your time to be part of a youth commission that has an opportunity to make a difference for all of Santa Ana with regards to the opportunities that are here. So I really appreciate the chance to talk to you. And while I'm going to introduce the planning process for the Parks and Recreation Master Plan, really I want to get your comments and feedback with regards to parks, recreation, open space, trails, programs and services across the department, recognizing that we are creating a long-range plan that is intended to guide those services over the next 10 years. This is the first plan of this type for the city, so it really sets a strong foundation moving forward. And it's going to be undertaken with a great deal of insight and analysis. We are just getting started in phase one by evaluating the existing park system. And then over the course of the next year, we'll be identifying community needs, talking about priority projects, and finally resulting in an implemented plan that's going to carry the city into making good decisions with regards to budget, staffing, and services into the future. So this master plan, again, builds on a variety of different analysis tasks, looking first at their inventory of existing assets, moving to identify those community priorities through an outreach, not only talking to you all today, but a variety of groups and residents across the community, that we then also compare with a technical analysis of needs, recognizing that parks aren't provided equitably across the city, and there definitely are some gaps in where parks and services are provided. And we use all that information to create a vision for the future, looking at where we want to be down the road, and then start talking about a strategy of how we get there, how we achieve that vision for the future by making large and small improvements moving forward. And then how we establish priorities, especially looking at the funding that's needed to implement the plan. This builds upon a general plan effort that you may know is already happening out there. The general plan, though, looks at city needs at kind of like the 100,000 foot level. So it's a little more abstract, whereas we get down into the details of specifics of what the community needs and what different parts of the community, different demographics, including youth. And we do this by focusing on community outreach. We meet with a lot of people across the community, not only formal committees and commissions, but also residents of all ages and demographics in a very thoughtful way to try to achieve the engagement goals of reaching as many people as possible, but also reaching underrepresented groups. And youth are among those. Honestly, the most people that we hear from during a planning process, it tends to be parents of families with younger children, or even seniors who tend to get involved more so when they are retired and have more time on their hands. So this is a critical opportunity to hear what youth specifically need for Parks and Rec because of how frequently you all are using these facilities and services. There's a fabulous website. If you haven't seen it, please check it out. It gives an overview about the planning process and what a park master plan does. And it also includes all the information needed to know when the next opportunities are to be involved and how also to take a survey that is now available in 3 different languages across your community. We've already had 1,000 people take the survey, but we're trying to get more involved, and especially more younger people. Anyone ages 10 and over can take this survey. And so we'd like for you to help encourage all of your friends and teammates and colleagues to respond to this to help us understand their needs. At the same time, we're also meeting with different community groups and getting partners involved in helping advertise this survey and helping share needs of different racial and ethnic groups, for example, across the community, or different stakeholder groups, as well as getting schools involved, Chamber of Commerce, and different organizations and entities. And we do this because we need to understand what specific needs are for parks and open space. You know, do we need more green space and shade? For recreation facilities such as play areas and dog parks and skate parks, or these major community centers and recreation centers that also include swimming pools, or trails or support amenities such as benches and restrooms, and then also looking at the programs and services as well as the maintenance needed to take care of that system. But it's not just about how we look at things or what we look at, but also how we look at things, recognizing that equity and access are incredibly important because everyone deserves the benefits of a good park and recreation system. And especially coming out of COVID, we know how important being outdoors is to our health. We also recognize that green space is critical to the health and well-being and sustainability of our communities. So we start looking at things such as parks in terms of identity, how they reflect the needs of different neighborhoods, as well as different demographics, and stewardship, I mean, how well we are taking care of our natural resources and park assets. We also look at how the park system will grow, change, and evolve as recreation trends change and as the community changes. And as part of that, how we can all work together across the city to achieve our vision for the future and fund that moving forward. You know, I mentioned earlier the general plan that looks at things citywide. We also look at needs across the city, recognizing that there's 363 acres of parkland at 48 different sites and a variety of amenities and facilities. But then we also look at specific needs at individual parks and needs for the neighbors who surround those individual parks. And as part of that, we also look at the needs of different groups across the community, such as youth, recognizing that the places that youth congregate and the facilities that you need may be different than what a senior would like to have, or an older adult, or another demographic, and recognizing that the programs are important as well. What you see here is just a quick list of some of the types of parks, programs, facilities, and services that are available to youth in Santa Ana. And we've already heard from other groups that it's important to look broadly at additional opportunities to support youth. So this is the graphic you saw earlier, but now it shows you all of the tasks that we are going to carry out as part of this planning process. The ones in blue are the ones that we are engaged in now. As you see in phase one, this youth commission meeting is, again, just really kicking us off here at the beginning to help us understand how we need to get youth involved through this planning process. And so we're hoping that you will help us identify not only what youth specifically would like to see in parks, recreation, trails, and open space, but also, again, to help get your friends involved by checking out the survey and the website and helping us advocate for parks. So this is my fast introduction of a parks master plan, because again, I'd rather spend far more time hearing from you, and we're happy to take any questions or comments that you have with regards to the planning process, or even to go ahead and discuss a few discussion questions that I put here. And I'm not sure, in many cases, the chair of the commission would like to facilitate by calling on different members of your commission to allow them the opportunity to respond and comment. Is that the approach that you would like to use here, Mr. Diaz?
Yes, that sounds perfect. So we'll go ahead just to get as many people's input as possible. We'd love to hear all of you guys to speak on this discussion. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the first question, and then we'll go on. I'll go ahead and name yourself, and then we'll go ahead and answer the questions. So the first question on the discussion we have is, in 1 or 2 words, what is your vision for city parks, facilities, trails, open space, and recreation activities in Santa Ana? So I'm going to go ahead and start with Commissioner Ortega. We'll go ahead and go from there.
Commissioner Ortega, your microphone is muted.
I believe
Chairperson?
We'll go ahead and
We might have lost Commissioner Ortega. Can we move on to our next commissioner?
yes, we'll go ahead and come back to Commissioner Ortega. Go ahead, Commissioner Ordonez.
I would say my 2 words would be inclusion and safety. And I guess to elaborate, inclusion being like having accessible equipment for kids with disabilities, right? I've seen that in other cities. They've installed equipment for kids that, you know, are differently abled. And in safety, just feeling safe to go to the parks in the first place, you know? I know growing up, my mom would be like, don't go to the park, you know, during this time because it might not be safe. So those are the words that I see and vision. Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Ordonez. We're going to go ahead and move on with Commissioner Verdin.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. Sorry, it's a little louder. You said a lot of the times the youth, we don't feel safe going to the parks. We're just outside.
We lost you, Commissioner Verdin.
We'll go ahead and come back to Commissioner Verdin, but I believe she was going to go ahead and continue and add on to, I believe, safety as being one of her priorities to go on. We have Commissioner Huizar.
I would agree with the safety because I live by a park, and at night I don't feel safe like walking there, and I don't feel safe walking there by myself even during the day. But I would say like activities, because by my park, it's only like baseball. And I'm like, I play soccer. So now I'm playing soccer on like a baseball park. And it's like, so I want like more activities so people have more chances to be they're able to play.
Thank you, Commissioner Husad. We'll go ahead and move with Commissioner Manguilar.
I would use the two words I would use would be social growth, and this stems from the belief that, right, in my I believe that parks are a great way to socialize, especially in this age of technology. For a while, I worked alongside the commissioner of Westminster, Sergio Contreras, and as he put it, it doesn't matter your social class. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. You're both going to use the same slide. You're both going to the same swings. You're both going to use the same amenities, and yeah, that's where the social growth comes from.
Perfect. Thank you, Commissioner Manguilar. And then Commissioner Echegoyen.
Hi, I just realized that Commissioner Verdin came back on. I don't know if she wants to finish her statement before I go ahead.
Yes, please. Commissioner Verdin, you can go ahead and finish up with your statement. Welcome back.
I'm sorry. I got kicked out of the meeting. Anyways, and sorry for the background noise. Like I was saying, adding on to what everyone else said, parks are really important to like utilize. Well, how do I explain it? Like, we need to take care of them, and we need to make them more accessible, and like we need to incentivize like a way like to get rid of the stigma that we have right now. Obviously, like we feel like it's dangerous, they're not clean, or it's just like it's not our a lot of times people will like our residents will go an extra few miles to another city to go to a park. So I really like what we're doing with the parks master plan and just like going over everything that we need to do to improve our parks and have them for everybody. It's our citizens would want to go.
Thank you, Commissioner Verdin. And then we're going to go ahead and with Commissioner Echegoyen.
Commissioner Echegoyen, we lost you. We can't hear you.
So she left the meeting. I think she'll join again shortly.
We'll go ahead and try to bring it back to, I believe, Commissioner Ortega. I know you tried to add your comment as well. We'll go ahead and bring it back to Commissioner Ortega.
Yes, thank you. I apologize. I wasn't able to mute myself, so I had to leave the meeting. But as per two words that I would use in order to describe my vision for, this development of parks and these different changes that are happening, I would use accessibility and growth, as many other commissioners have mentioned. Just being accessible to different outlets through these facilities, these parks that we can provide the youth, in order for more youth to come into these parks and use these resources and take advantage of the resources that are available to them, in order to have that space. And as well as growth, I think, as Commissioner Verdin mentioned, there's this stigma again, or also the stigma and problem around the safetiness. And I really want to push forward in order to address this problem and this need that is present with safetiness and being equitable, etc., in order to move on with this growth with these facilities in our city.
Thank you, Commissioner Ortega. Now that we have Commissioner Echegoyen back, I'll go ahead and pass it on to her.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me okay? I'm sorry about that. My Wi-Fi cut off. I really, besides the two words, I just had a comment. I've always been an avid bike rider, so I love going to parks, but I've noticed that many of the parks in neighboring cities have basic things like dispensaries for dog waste bags, which I think having those available in our parks would go against the stigma of the parks not being well maintained. But then on top of that, I think that one of the big things that I've heard from not only from youth in Santa Ana, but also from adults is just a little bit of pushback about our fairs, or for example, Noche de Altares here in Santa Ana. And I think that instead of it, I know that Noche de Altares wasn't held last year because of COVID, but the year prior, it was held near Civic Center, and it was just too crowded. So maybe organizing for that, either to go back, if not to 4th Street, perhaps to a park where it's more spacious so people can actually celebrate these things, because I mean, our city's demographic is majority Hispanic. But other than that, I would love to see bulletins for lost pets, or job bulletins in the parks, or things like, I don't know, summer camps for kids, because that's another thing that other parks have. I know that Long Beach Parks and Recreation has a lot of summer camps for its students, for those that live in the city of Long Beach, but that's not exactly the case here in Santa Ana. And we have a lot of parents who work. So those are my only suggestions.
Perfect. Thank you, Commissioner Echegoyen. To answer the question myself, if I can think of one word, my word would be infrastructure. I think touching on what all of us have been agreeing is that there are parts in our facilities that are either out of date or like have not been fixed in a long time. So for me, one of the things that I would really hope for this Parks Master Plan to touch on is to improve the infrastructure of our parks and recreations. And that includes the community centers across our city, especially because we use those community centers to provide resources not only to youth, but to all residents across the city. So I think it'd be beneficial not only to improve the parks, adding additional lighting, setting up cameras for safety, but also improving those community centers so that we can provide those resources to those most in need across the city of Santa Ana. So that would be my one word. And to go on to the next question, we have one more question, and we'll go ahead and do the roundtable how we did last time. What youth needs and opportunities should this plan address? So we're going to go ahead and start with Commissioner Ortega. Go ahead and take it away, Commissioner Ortega.
Thank you. So as mentioned previously by some of the commissioners, I think that some needs and opportunities that this plan should address is just programs and getting the word out there. I think there's wonderful resources that are available at times, but some youth simply don't know about them. So just being outreaching to the youth overall more in order to gain access to these resources and be aware, which I think the plan is currently trying to address that by providing different outlets of how youth can provide their own opinion and how they can go on about with gaining access to these resources. So I definitely want to see that to be a prominent part in this process with just, being able to outreach to the different youth, the different opportunities that they may be interested in, and how we can even bring more opportunities for other outlets.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll go ahead and move on with Commissioner Ordonez.
I would agree with Commissioner Ortega with the outreach, because sometimes these resources are just like at the community centers, or I don't know, sometimes they just don't get out. So I think that's really important. And then maybe something, because, we're transitioning to getting out of, I guess, quarantine and going out and being more active. So it'd be cool and like interesting to see like a program or something, like a campaign going on, being like, oh, we're out, you guys come join us at the park to do like a yoga class or something, to get the youth active as we transition into, going back into our daily routines pre-quarantine. I think that would be really cool, and I would support that. I would go and be like, yes. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Commissioner. Awesome. Moving on to Commissioner Verdin.
Yeah, I believe it was Commissioner Ordonez that she was saying I would love to do a yoga class at the park, like just things like little things like that. I feel like we underestimate the power of those types of things, that we need to encourage those types of like just recreational activities where a bunch of youth or even adult little kids, we could just get together in the summer or really whatever season and just enjoy our parks for what they are, because I think if we maintain them properly, they can be beautiful, like, and we can I guess have that as like a norm, like, oh yeah, let's go to the park today or tomorrow or whenever, because our parents are working. We want to see it as a safe space for everybody, and just, I don't know, I think that's something we should utilize.
Thank you, Commissioner Verdin. Moving on to Commissioner Huizar.
I agree with what everybody said about like events that we can hold in parks. And then we need like to spread out more, because my mom sent me like a flyer just on Facebook for movies in the park. But she was like, I've only ever seen it on Facebook. So but like I think like the events in parks that everybody can be there so we can like socialize is a good idea. The movies in the park, I have the flyer. I can send it to you guys if you want like to post it on like your personal Instagram to like get the word out. But I think it's a good idea to have like events, like the youth needs to be together, like know that like they have people for them that like they can talk to and like have friends with. So that's what I think.
Thank you, Commissioner. Moving on to Commissioner Manguilar.
I'm still trying to articulate what I want to say correctly. I think what the youth needs, what this plan should address, is the multitude of amenities in the parks. For example, Santa Anita Park, it only has one handball court. It only has one basketball court. I believe there should be maybe 2 or 3 basketball courts, right? So it's not just one group of friends playing, but many, and right, because Russell Elementary, I believe it's Russell Elementary, that's across, that's like a 5-minute walk away from the park, so those kids after school, the ones who don't stay for Boys and Girls Club, the ones who don't go home immediately, where do they go to hang out? They go to hang out at the park, right? Or at least we hope so, right? Or some other place. But when those courts are already taken up, well, then that's it. There's nothing else to do. Or for example, that's the only part that comes to mind just because I live so close to it. And the reason I think it's so important to have, for example, a multitude of handball courts, a multitude of basketball courts, or whatever it is, whatever other amenities, is to hopefully address the issue of gang violence. I'm so sorry. I don't know, maybe it's just my way of thinking, maybe others don't think this way, but if those like handball courts aren't there, if those basketball courts aren't there, if those parks aren't there, it can be another like avenue or a reason for like kids to join gangs, and that they're bored and like that's the only thing around. I'm not sure if I'm making sense, if I'm getting my point across, but I think I am. that's it.
You are, and if I could just step in to reiterate, you've hit one of the key reasons that Parks and Recreation are so powerful. It gives people what we call quality of life choices. In other words, positive things to do with their time, and that's what we want everyone to have throughout their entire lives, whether they're young or old. So thank you for raising that point.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Manguilata. We're going to go ahead and move in with Commissioner Echegoyen, and I do see your hand up, Commissioner Verdeen. We'll go ahead and go to you next.
The only ideas that I had are the ones that I had already mentioned about potentially hosting Noche de Altares in a park that's more spacious so it can be celebrated properly. And summer camps. Oh, actually, those aren't the only ideas. One more thing that I thought about, I know that the Roosevelt Center is a part of Parks and Recreation, and my little brother actually would take karate classes at Roosevelt Center, but that's something that my eldest sister paid for him to do, and I think that there should also be free options, because if it weren't for my eldest sister, my mom would not be able to pay to have him in something like karate. So maybe just making sure that all of the community centers have slots open in all of their classes so that kids who can't pay for classes can still enjoy them. Just stressing the same thing that Ms. Mendoza said, quality of life choices, and making sure that little kids aren't bored and they're actually doing something healthy, like exercising or just making friends.
Perfect. Thank you, Commissioner Echegoyen. And then I'll go ahead and pass it back to Commissioner Verdeen.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I think Commissioner Manguilar brought up a great point. Is that the reason that these programs and like just or like implementation of these programs for the youth are so important is because of the possibility of gang, like if kids joining gangs. But also another problem is that sometimes they're so bored that they just do they go to the parks not to do recreational things, but to do drugs or just do whatever. And it's like, it's not a good thing. So if there's alternatives, I think it's a great thing that we can, we're having this discussion right now. So we can offer alternatives. Maybe they don't have to turn to drugs. Maybe they don't have to turn to gangs. That there is a better alternative for what to do after school, what to do during the summer when your parents are working, you know? So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Verdeen. And then I see your hand raised, Commissioner Ortega. Go ahead and take it away.
Thank you. I just wanted to quickly echo what Commissioner Echegoyen mentioned about providing some opportunities that are free, because I know myself and people around me have been interested in some opportunities, but because of financial burdens, haven't had the ability or the opportunity to actually go on about these specific activities. So looking into being able to provide some activities that don't have to that don't go on with this financial barrier that sometimes may be in contact with some families in order for youth to enjoy.
Perfect. Thank you, Commissioner Ortega. And then for myself, what would I like to see in terms of opportunities and needs in this plan? Definitely kind of echo what everyone has been saying, which would be expand the programs that are already offered in our Parks and Recreations system. So I know that the City Council, a lot they talk about and mention creating more additional arts programs and making it more accessible to more students, providing vouchers for anyone who can't be able to afford those prices of those classes. So that would be my recommendation, would be to expand the amount of programs that we offer at our parks. And then it'd also be to work in collaboration with, I know for this summer, we just had the opportunity to help out the Santa Ana Works people promote the internship program that they're going to be having for students across the city. And I think it'd be an awesome idea to us to add that as an additional program, to have workshops, not only just for youth, but also for adults if they'd like to come by and participate in workshops where they can learn more about any opportunities that are around, any job prospects that they might see. Kind of just around that, also having the English classes that we've had before, kind of just expanding on the recreational programs that we already offer, but really providing it at a much higher level than what we do now. And that would go back to what we were saying, is that basically making sure that we get the word out to as many people as possible, rather than just letting the people around the area know of that. So that would be my recommendation. Thanks again for everyone in participating. I'll go ahead and pass it down back to our presenter. Hopefully this discussion was helpful.
This has been very helpful. I greatly appreciate all of these comments. There's two of us taking notes here. I'm just going to quickly reiterate some of the things that I heard, so you have a final opportunity to tell me if there's anything else we need to add. But just a high-level overview, focusing first and foremost on park safety, ensuring that everybody has an opportunity to get safely to parks, and then for parks to be safe when they arrive. Part of that we heard is those infrastructure improvements that are needed to make parks usable and in good condition, as well as the day-to-day maintenance, the caretaking of parks. We definitely heard about the need for improved park access and accessibility for all. And is part of that not just about the location of parks, but also the communication that needs to be improved so that people know what opportunities are out there, whether it's social media or a variety of channels. We heard about needing a greater variety of opportunities, whether that's sports or arts. I loved the comment about playing soccer on a baseball field. I grew up playing soccer on a tennis court. It's nice to see now that there's something called a futsal court, so we actually can do that where we're supposed to play. But just having not only a greater variety, but more. I love the notion of you need more space for those key community events that are so important to residents, or more facilities rather than just one or two things, so that more people can play. We definitely heard about the need for affordability. Making sure, again, opportunities for all to play, recognizes that some people need reduced cost or no cost and free opportunities. And then recognizing the importance of this and supporting just the social and community benefits, giving people those healthy alternatives and things to do when they're bored, or when they need something to support, something we call youth development. So the job fairs that you mentioned, for example, or skill building opportunities, so that you have an opportunity to learn and grow. So there's kind of the quick overview of all that we heard. Obviously, we have far more detailed notes. One thing I will say, that if you see the city run a campaign, come join us at the park, you will know that it was your ideas. We heard that advised to us here, and greatly appreciate both the facilitation that Commissioner Diaz provided, as well as all of your insights. So if there are any final comments or thoughts that we've missed, please let us know.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Does the commission have any more questions for our presenters today? If you do, go ahead and use the raise of hand.
Actually, I do have a comment.
Commissioner, go ahead.
Just wanted to say, I think that another idea that came up, I'm sorry, I'm just, now that I heard you go through all of them, I thought of some more. I think it would be really great, because I feel like a lot of our parks have trash cans, but they don't really have recycling cans. So I see a lot of people who don't recycle, not because they don't want to, but they just really don't have somewhere to put their plastic bottles. And I know that some of them feel a little guilty about that. But other than that, just maybe having QR codes that can be scanned by computers, by phone, at all facilities, just so that it could lead to a survey if there's a problem, kind of like the My Santa Ana app that does that same thing, where if a street light isn't working, you can report it. But I think that having a QR code, because everyone carries their phone, and it would just make it so much more accessible than being like, oh, who do I have to find at this facility and tell them this is a problem, can we fix it? I just think it would be so much more direct and better than physical surveys, especially now that we are leaving COVID. So those are my only two suggestions.
Thank you, Commissioner Echegoyen. I see a hand raised by Commissioner Huizar. Go ahead, take it away.
So this this is like based on my brothers and my experience. My brother's been trying to vocalize the bathrooms at like the other parks they're not clean, and he's been like trying to tell people about it. He like my family would not go in those bathrooms because they're like the one by my house, they're not clean at all. And it's like the people also do drugs in the bathroom. And then we're just like terrified to do it. Like when I was in cross country and he had to use the bathroom, we just had to wait till we get back to the school. Like we were just like, don't go. I'm like, don't go in there. Like, because people there's like needles on the floor when I went in there one time. And then, so we just don't go in there. And so my brother's been trying to like communicate that with people. And so I just wanted to bring it up here since you guys are like the park and recreation, that the bathroom is near like the park near my house. It's the Riverview Park, I think is what it's called. The bathrooms are not clean. And as someone mentioned earlier, about like there's only like one court, there's only like one basketball court, and then people are just waiting. Like when I played basketball, I had to wait on the side and wait for somebody to leave so I can like practice. So it's like everything's like very like compact. And then like I know kids that like, I'm gonna go to the park, and they're like, never mind, it's busy, and so they just like decide to go home, or they go there on their phone. So I think we need like more activities, like we've said, that can like draw people in. And I think we should also have like tutoring for people who like need help, like that can just meet at a park, and there can be like a person there be like, hey, you need help, I'll help you. So that's what I was gonna say.
Thank you, Commissioner. And then I see another hand raised by Commissioner Verdine. Go ahead and take it away, Commissioner Verdine.
No, yeah, I want to add on to what both Commissioner Chagoyan and Weezar said. You all bring up very good points. And for one, I just want to say thank you to Ms. Mendoza, Cindy Mendoza, for reaching out and including the Youth Commission to reach out to the Youth Commission for our input, because as we know, it is quite important to get our input. Not to sound very self-righteous, but I mean, we know what's going on. But anyways, for the bit.ly link that you provided in the presentation for I think it was the SA Park survey, we can just submit that with any other ideas that we have. Or, yeah, okay, that sounds good. And also, I really like Commissioner Chagoyan's idea of having QR codes at the parks. I think that would be really handy versus where there's like the My Sanana app, where you have to actually download the app, and I haven't had much experience with it. I think a QR code is much more convenient because everybody has a phone. All you have to do is put your camera at it, and boom, it takes you to the link. Just like what Commissioner Weezar mentioned, if there's needles on the floor, someone can go pick that up. If there's just any general input, hey, there needs to be a trash can here, or maybe they want another basketball court here, just have that avenue of collecting input in that way. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Verdine. Perfect. I think I see no more hands raised. My final comment on this presentation is obviously thank you for reaching out to us. It means a lot to the Youth Commission in terms of wanting to hear our input, especially because, you know, for a lot of us, I think we can all agree that sometimes we feel like our youth voices aren't being heard. And for you guys to come out and, you know, pull time out of your day to come and see our input, it's very, very special to us. So thank you for that. In terms of final comments, I think we did touch on this, which was just additional more green space. I remember from the at the advisory group, that's almost what everyone was in agreement with, which was adding more additional green space, aka more parks. Obviously, we want to see better infrastructure in the ones that already exist, but also see more additional parks in places that may not have a park close to them or anywhere like that. So that would be my final comment. But again, thank you for coming by. And I think that should do it. I don't think there's any more questions.
Thank you all so much. Your comments are fabulous and so insightful. So I appreciate your time as well.
Thank you again. Perfect. City staff, are we good to move on in the agenda?
Yes, Chairperson.
Perfect. Thank you. Moving on, we have next on the agenda is time for public comments. Recording Secretary, is there anyone that wishes to speak today?
Chairperson Diaz, we do not have any public comments at this point in time. We did receive an e-comment earlier this week. The e-comment was inquiring information on the Youth Commission meeting, and the information was provided to the inquirer.
Perfect, thank you. And I believe next on the agenda is the consent calendar items, and I believe there's only one item, which is well, there's actually two items. There's two, which is the approving minutes from our previous special meeting, and then excusing the absences. So we'll go ahead and move forward with that. Do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar items?
I motion to approve.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Echegoyen. Do we have a second?
I second.
Perfect. We do have a second by Commissioner Ordonez. Recording Secretary, could we please call roll?
Commissioner Manguilad,
Yes.
Commissioner Ordonez,
Yes.
Commissioner Ortega,
Yes.
Commissioner Huiza,
Yes.
Commissioner Echegoyen,
Yes.
Commissioner Verdin,
Yes.
Commissioner Diaz.
Yes.
Thank you.
Perfect. And I believe that there's no consent calendar items or any other mention in the agenda. Is there any other final comments from city staff? Is there any updates for us in particular, or would you like us to move on with adjournment and final comments?
Commissioners, this is Liaison Juan Lara. I do have a couple of updates for you. The first is a response to your request for the Youth Commission to be able to host a town hall as it relates to then recommendations to City Council for how to spend some of the cannabis revenue monies that is allocated to youth services and programs. And the response that we received is that the City Council has already hosted a town hall that was open to the entire community, including youth, as well as youth serving organizations. So at this point, they do not see a need for us to conduct a second town hall meeting. So that was the response on that. We do receive communication from you all also in terms of your interest for additional topics that you would want to have presentations at future Youth Commission meetings. So we will be working with you to schedule those accordingly. And then lastly, in case you did not see the City Council meeting that took place this past Tuesday, I just wanted to inform you that the updated bylaws for the Youth Commission were approved unanimously. So they are to take effect for your next meeting. The one decision that you all do need to make today, it relates to your actual next meeting. Based on the updated bylaws, your new regular meeting schedule will be the first Wednesday of the month, starting at 3 p.m. So with that in mind, obviously then your next meeting would be 2 weeks away, which may be relatively fast. And again, that's for you to decide if you want to proceed with still having then your next meeting, officially now your regular meeting on the first Wednesday of July, which would be, give me one quick second. That would be Wednesday, July 7th. And or then you can also proceed to bypass the month of July and then have your first meeting in August. And that August date would be Wednesday, August 4th. So any suggestions for how to proceed with your next meeting?
Yes, Mr. Lar, just a clarifying question for the next meeting, just to make sure, or just to get clarification on this. For our next meetings, they will still be virtual, or will we be going down to in person again?
Thank you for the question. So actually, this would be your final meeting where we would all be meeting virtually. We are also working on transitioning into both, in-person, as well as then also providing for those commissioners that are not able to attend in person, but are able to log in and participate virtually. We're looking to try and accommodate that as well. But yes, your next regular meeting will be, expected to provide you with the opportunity to start meeting in person once again.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So I'd love to hear what you guys have to say on this. If you guys would like to move forward with going with the new date and time, which as Mr. Lau was saying, would be the first Wednesday of the month. If that works with all of you, I'll go ahead and let anyone, if you guys would like to speak and chime in, by all means, please do.
That date works fine that's fine by me just because it's summer right now. But I don't know how everybody else feels. I mean, I won't be in the commission for much longer because of the age limits, but I think that it really depends on what everybody else thinks, especially those who are continuing with the commission.
Any other thoughts? Would the first Wednesday work for you guys? I see someone was about to speak. Go ahead.
Yeah, that was me. Sorry, Chair Diaz. Anyways, that works for me. But one thing is, I'm not sure how, because we would need to decide something now, but I know that I know at least 3 commissioners after the summer are not going to continue with the commission. So I'm just wondering, I only know me and Commissioner Weezer, I believe we are continuing after the summer. I don't know who else is. So if anything, maybe we can change afterwards, like once we have the spots filled and everything. But I just want to see if the new date conflicts with anybody. But I think that's something also we need to keep in mind, that okay, this will work for now, but if we can change it in the future just in case there's any scheduling conflicts.
And if I may, allow me to clarify. So again, the question for now is, how soon do you want to meet? Do you want your next meeting to be the first Wednesday in July, or do you want your next meeting to be the first Wednesday in August? Because again, based on the approved bylaws, you are now moving forward with your regular meetings happening the first Wednesday of the month, starting at 3 p.m.
Right. Perfect. So I think what I've heard so far from Commissioner Echegoyen and Commissioner Verdin is, if it works for you guys, having our meeting the first Wednesday of July. Anyone else want to chime in? Does it not work with anyone else? If not, we can go ahead and move forward, and we'll go ahead and have that meeting that day. Yes, go ahead.
Quick question for Mr. Lara. Sorry for interrupting you. I thought that we had settled on agreeing for Wednesday as a temporary measure just because Commissioner Manguiar would not be able to. Was that not the case? Because that was the impression that I was under.
No, to respond to your question, Commissioner Echegoyen, it was not a temporary, time frame. This was, again, since it is established on your bylaws, this would be, in essence, the a regular time moving forward. Obviously, the bylaws are, a living document. And when you do see fit to make a change, we would still need to go through that process. The changes would need to be agendized. It would need to be discussed and voted on. And then they need to be, yet again, sent over to City Council for final and formal approval.
Okay, well, is there any way that we can go ahead and do that before the summer? I don't know how long that process lasts, because again, I know that they were just approved by City Council. But I believe that the last time we had this conversation, every youth commissioner agreed that what's more convenient if we are going back in person is Friday after school.
If I can chime in, I think and correct me if I'm wrong, fellow commissioners, but I think from our previous discussion, we voted all for Wednesday only because that worked for everyone the best day. And Commissioner Verdin, you brought up a great point that a significant amount of us won't be here after the summer. And as Mr. Lara mentioned, you guys will be able to revisit the issue when you guys do go back to school. As for the summer, since hopefully our schedules are more flexible rather than when we were in schools, hopefully we can keep it for now. And then when you guys go back to school and if things look different, you guys can revisit that bylaw for you guys to be able to change it. But I'd like to hear if that Wednesday doesn't work, then we can try to accommodate to see what we can do. However, like we did mention, this is something that we did pass and vote on. So it would take a whole time for revisit, but I think that should be up to, I believe, the commissioners who are still going to be in here to revisit that issue when it comes time for them. I see hands up by Commissioner Huizar and Commissioner Ortega. I'll go ahead and let Commissioner Huizar first.
If you're gonna do the first Wednesday, and if it's at 3, I have practice on that day at 1:30 to 3:30. So I might be a little, because I don't know if I was confused. Are we doing it in person starting the next meeting?
I believe from what Mr. Lara said is that we can make it work where if you want to go in person, you can. If you'd like to still be virtual, they'll be able to accommodate that for you as well. I know for the past city council meeting, not everyone was there in person. There were still members of the city council who were still participating virtually. So I believe, if I'm correct, Mr. Lara, that will be able to be accommodated for some commissioners.
That is the plan, yes.
Perfect.
I might need an accommodation because I go to Santa Ana High School, but my practice ends at 3:30 and the meeting starts at 3, so I might be late. But I can talk to my coaches about it. But I've already I've had to leave early last week for another commitment, and so I don't know how what's the limits for my coaches. But I'll talk to them about it. But I can see what I can do. But I might have to go be one of the online commissioners. Just because my commitments, I've already committed to because I made the summer soccer team, so I can miss a lot of days. So I'll talk to my coaches about it though.
Right on. Thank you, Commissioner Huizar, for letting us know. You can reach out to city staff. They'll by all means be more than happy to help you out, make any accommodations. And then I saw.
Diaz?
Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner Echegoyen. I'll go ahead and let Commissioner Ortega go ahead as well because I saw her hand up. So go ahead, Commissioner Ortega, and then Commissioner Echegoyen.
I'm sorry, my apologies. I just had to interject really quickly and say that I do have another time commitment. I don't know if it's possible if I can be excused.
Of course, city staff, would that be okay?
At this point, yes, we will still be able to retain quorum. So we do appreciate your time, Commissioner Echegoyen. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you.
Go ahead, Commissioner Ortega. I know you had your hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that the first Wednesday of July would work for me as well as for August. So I'm really open to if anyone else has any conflicts, that I'm open to whichever. But yeah, this upcoming Wednesday of July does work for me.
Awesome. Perfect. Does anyone else have any conflicts that day? If not, I think we will be good to move forward with having a meeting on that first Wednesday of the month in July. And then again, Commissioner Verdin and Huizar, if you guys want to revisit the issue when you guys go back into school, by all means you guys can. But for now, we're going to keep it at that for the rest of the summer. Is there anyone else that wants to chime in? If not, I think city staff are good to move forward. Awesome. Seeing none, I think we're good to go for having the first meeting on the first Wednesday of July.
Perfect. Thank you all very much.
Awesome. Thank you for your patience in that, everyone. I know that took a while. Yes, Commissioner Verdin, I think I saw. Did you want to speak on something?
So, this next coming July meeting, is it going to be in person?
Yes, that is correct. That is
Okay.
the plan for now. Of course, if there's something that's going on and for any reason, if you can't attend, just end up reaching out to city staff and they'll try to find a way to accommodate for you and then put you virtually.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Perfect. All right, moving on. Now that leads, is there any more updates, Mr. Lara, on anything else?
No, that was it for me. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Perfect. Moving forward, that moves us to final comments. This is the time for anyone to make any final comments. Anything else you'd like to mention? Anything that we discussed today? I'd love to hear everyone's feedback on today's presentation. I think it went well, all the discussion. Thank you for participating in that, by the way. We'll go ahead and start with Commissioner Ortega. Final comments.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo as well that the presentation went well. I really loved the input that all of the commissioners provided for the presentation, and all of the ideas that came about in order to advocate for parks, the facilities, and new ideas that hopefully are implemented with our input. So I really enjoyed hearing from all of you, and I hope to see you on next meeting, either virtually or in person.
Thank you, Commissioner Ortega. Moving on to Commissioner Ordonez.
Yeah, to echo what Commissioner Ortega said, it was nice to hear from everybody, and it's interesting how comfortable we're getting with each other. And I'm also excited to meet some of y'all in person. I'm like, what? But yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Perfect. Thank you, Commissioner Ordonez. Moving on to Commissioner Verdin.
Okay. Thank you, Chairperson Diaz. To echo what we have been saying so far, the commissioners. I think really well. I mean, I think it's really important that we are included in the conversations about the parks, because I mean, as youth, I mean, we're the ones going to the parks primarily. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. And I again to reiterate what Commissioner Ordonez said, I'm very excited to meet the rest of you in person, hopefully. So far, I've only met about half of you. So it will be pretty cool to see you guys again and meet some of the faces we haven't met in person. And I also wanted to say, I'm pretty sure I've said this to the commissioners that I know that have graduated from high school, but to those that I don't know if they already graduated, congratulations. I'm really proud of you guys. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Commissioner. We'll go ahead and move to Commissioner Huizar.
I think the presentation went well, as all of us said. Also, to go back to what Commissioner Verdin said, congratulations to the class of 2021. I know that Commissioner Echegoyen was at the graduated, and I saw on Chairperson Diaz's Instagram, I think you graduated already. And I know Commissioner Verdin was at the graduation for Santa Ana High School, and I was there because my brother graduates. I just want to say congratulations to the class of 2021. Y'all, it was hard this year. Like, you guys went through a lot, and I'm very proud of everybody who did it and did to the best of their abilities. Like, y'all worked hard and y'all deserve it. Y'all deserve everything that you're going to get in life.
Thank you, Commissioner. Moving on to Commissioner Manguilar.
I had a quick question for Mr. Lara. I heard, as Commissioner Echegoyen mentioned, an age limit, and I just wanted to see how that would affect myself. Is it an age limit, or is it going to college, like out of state, perhaps? I just wanted to know how that would work in my future involvement with the Youth Commission.
Okay, Commissioner Manguiar. So the way, the regulations that guide participation and involvement in the Youth Commission currently stand is you either must be a high school student or reach the age of 18. Now, obviously, you can be 18 and still a high school student to continue serving, but if you are a 17-year-old that graduates high school, you can continue to serve up until when you turn 18 years old. Did that answer your question?
Somewhat, but that leads me to my next question of me turning 18 already and graduated. How does that affect my involvement with the Youth Commission? Or is it something that I would have to email you privately about?
We can discuss this further, privately, but again, right now the stipulation is that you must be either a high school student and or not yet 18 years old. But yes, let's discuss moving forward what other options you may have.
Understood. Thank you. And those are the end of my comments. And it was nice to see everyone today too.
Awesome. Thank you, Commissioner Manguilar. And I believe that leaves just my final comments. I want to thank all of you guys for your patience throughout this meeting, and especially for kind of adding to the discussion. I think it was a very healthy and productive discussion. Also very insightful on our part, especially because they don't have that many youth in those meetings, kind of inputting what we see and what we go through in our experiences at the parks. So it's very special when we get to put that input as well. So thank you for that discussion. I do want to give a couple updates, and I want to show some appreciation to Commissioner Verdin. She was just recently at a food drive that was held by a couple community leaders, including Mayor Sarmiento and and also school board member Dr. Alvarez, I forget his name sometimes. But yes, thank you for showing up. Always, those events are all super awesome. Remember, guys, if you guys can keep on using your social media platforms to promote anything that's going on in parks and recreations, if you guys can promote that survey, that would be very helpful. That survey is going to be very insightful to that parks master plan when they finally take a look at all the surveys and kind of distinguish what takeaways are important and what the community feels is very important to improve and address inside that plan. In terms of also the last previous city council meeting, I do want to give some insights. If you guys follow Mayor Sarmiento on Instagram, he does mention a couple things that happened just recently. They did approve the city budget, and in that, I'm just going to read a couple bullet points for you guys, which is no new police budget increases, a $1.1 million from police to youth development and crime prevention, explore diverting 911 calls from police for mental health issues, increase community engagement by police, reallocating $300,000 to deportation defense funds, and adding a Vietnamese community liaison, and also $100,000 for the arts and culture events. So this is very exciting to see, and obviously it adds on to the pressure that not only this commission, but also outside community organizers have been putting on the council to invest in youth. And it's something that we've kind of been advocating ourselves on our platforms. And it's good to see. I think it's a step in the right direction. So hopefully if we keep on, applying more pressure and asking for more funding for youth programs and services, as our mission is to act in an advisory capacity to the city council and anything pertaining to youth and teen services. If we can do as much of that work as possible, that's going to be very beneficial, not only to ourselves, but the rest of the youth across the city. So good stuff that we're seeing so far. Besides that, I think that ends my comments for today. Again, thank you guys for your patience. Also, thank you city staff for helping us with today. I know there's a lot of technical difficulties, but thank you for answering your questions and thank you for helping us out with today. Commissioner Verdin, I do see your hand raised. Any other final comments before we adjourn?
My bad, I know we're just about to end, but one thing, thank you so much, Chairperson Diaz, for the little update, just for those of us who haven't seen that yet. Honestly, I'm really happy about the budget changes, like that they're going in the right direction for sure. I don't know if you guys know, but at the past city council meeting, I made a public comment for the first time asking for some of those things. And I'm just really happy to see that type of stuff finally being implemented. But also one last question for city staff. We're allowed to advertise the youth commission meetings like on our own social media platforms, right? Because I wanted to make like a little flyer, just youth commission meeting today, go watch it on YouTube or whatever. We're allowed to do that, right? I just want to make sure for the next meeting so I can promote it and hopefully we can have more public engagement.
And the answer is yes. Anything that you want to do on your own personal platforms, you are absolutely welcome to do that.
All right, thank you so much. I wanted to do that, but I just wanted to make sure that I don't go against anything. I don't want to get in trouble. All right, thank you guys.
Awesome, thank you guys. All right, perfect. Now we'll go ahead and move to adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
Perfect. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second that motion.
Perfect. Recording secretary, could we please have a roll call?
Commissioner Manguilar,
Yes.
Commissioner Ordonez,
Yes.
Commissioner Ortega,
Yes.
Commissioner Weezer,
Yes.
Commissioner Verdine,
Yes.
Commissioner Diaz.
Yes. Perfect. Thank you, everyone. Now we are adjourned on June 18th at 4:15 p.m. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day.
Bye.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
See
you
you
all.
on
Thank you all. Have a good
Wednesday.
rest of your
Next-
weekend. Thank you.